In agentic FinOps, cost and quality are inseparable. A cheaper decision can improve efficiency, but it can also create retries, latency, risk, and unhappy users. In this module, we'll look at how to govern spend alongside performance, safety, and real business outcomes. So far, we've seen why agentic AI changes the FinOps problem. Agents plan, call tools, retry, remember, and create less predictable cost paths. We also applied core FinOps practices to AI workloads. Now, we connect the two. Cost and quality need to be governed together. Before we break down cost anatomy next. Cost optimization in agentic AI is not just about choosing the cheapest path. A smaller model, shorter prompt, or thinner context may reduce the cost of each call, but it can also increase errors, retries, tool misuse, and escalation costs. The reverse can also be true. A stronger model, richer context, or better safety check may cost more upfront, while preventing expensive cleanup later. The governance question is business value. Which configuration delivers the best reliable outcome for the total cost, not simply the lowest token bill? Cost and quality do not move in a straight line. In many agentic workflows, teams can reduce spend at first with little visible impact. Smaller models, shorter context, fewer tool calls. But beyond a threshold, quality can drop quickly, and failures become expensive in other ways. Premium models and extra orchestration may improve results, but only up to a point. The practical goal is to find the efficient frontier, the lowest cost that still meets accuracy, completion, and safety requirements for that workflow. Optimization becomes risky when it removes the pieces that make an agent reliable. A smaller model may be cheaper, but it can lose reasoning depth, instruction discipline, or domain accuracy. Shorter context can hide the fact, policy, or user constraint the answer depends on. Prompt compression saves tokens, but too much compression strips nuance. And when retrieval, validation, or safety checks are skipped, the system may answer faster, while becoming less grounded and harder to trust. The goal is not to avoid savings. It is to understand which savings change the risk profile. A cheap configuration can look efficient at first, but poor output quality often moves cost downstream. When an agent fails or gives a low-confidence answer, the system may retry, consuming more tokens and adding latency. If the issue is still unresolved, people may need to review, correct, or explain the result. Safety and policy mistakes can trigger audits, compliance work, and reputational risk. The largest cost may be business impact. Frustrated users stop trusting the experience, adoption drops, and the ROI case for AI weakens. Here's a common trap: choosing the model that looks cheapest per call. If it succeeds only 70% of the time, the workflow may need retries, extra tool calls, or human escalation. Those costs can quickly outweigh the savings. A more expensive model with 92% task success may finish in fewer steps and create less support burden. In FinOps, the real unit of analysis is not the inference. It is the completed task at acceptable quality. Agentic quality is not a single score. A system can sound polished and still be wrong, or follow policy while failing to finish the job. Evaluation needs several lenses. Correctness looks at accuracy. Completeness checks whether the full request was handled. Groundedness confirms that claims come from approved data, context, or tools. Task success connects the answer to the business outcome. These measures need to be balanced with safety, consistency, latency, and user satisfaction, because improving one dimension can sometimes weaken another. For knowledge-intensive agents, 3 quality checks are especially important. Correctness asks, is the answer true, valid, and aligned with the required procedure? Completeness asks, did the agent address the whole request, not just the easiest part? Groundedness asks, can we trace the response back to approved context, records, or tools? These dimensions work together. An answer can be correct but incomplete, or complete but unsupported. Unsupported answers create risk, even when they sound confident. Use these checks during testing and review, because failure in any one area can lead to rework, distrust, or compliance exposure. As agents gain autonomy, quality is no longer just accuracy. It is controlled behavior. Safety asks, could this harm someone, expose data, or create unfair outcomes? Consistency asks, would the same situation lead to the same decision tomorrow? Policy compliance asks, is the agent operating within the rules of the business, the law, and the security model? These controls are enforced through prompts, permissions, tool restrictions, moderation, and audit logs. They can add latency and cost, but they also reduce incidents, rework, and governance risk. For high-impact systems, control is part of the product. Quality governance also has to include the experience, not just the answer. A response can be accurate, but if it takes too long, loops unnecessarily, or forces the user to retry, trust drops quickly. Lower latency usually improves satisfaction, but it may require more expensive infrastructure, faster models, or smarter routing. That is the trade-off to manage. Look at signals like P50 and P95 latency, abandonment, thumbs down, conversation length, and repeat attempts. These reveal friction that automated accuracy tests may miss. The goal is an interaction that feels reliable, clear, and productive. Agentic FinOps governance works best when metrics are grouped into families rather than treated as isolated dashboards. Spend metrics show what each task, model, tool, and infrastructure layer costs. Performance metrics show whether the system is fast, accurate, scalable, and retrieving the right context. Outcome metrics connect the agent to business value, including success, completion, and user satisfaction. Risk metrics show where control is breaking down, such as escalations, policy violations, safety incidents, or audit exceptions. Segmentation is essential. Track these signals by workflow, owner, application, customer segment, and outcome, so teams can improve the right thing. Metrics tell you what is happening. Guardrails decide what the system is allowed to do next. The pattern is straightforward. Define the objective, choose the metric that represents risk, set a threshold, then attach an action. For spend, that might mean alerting when cost per task spikes. For quality, it could mean routing outputs to review when success or groundedness drops. For safety, it may mean blocking autonomous action when policy violations exceed a limit. For operations, it could trigger a fallback model or human escalation. Governance is not just reporting. It becomes enforceable behavior in the workflow. Effective agentic FinOps is not a one-time cleanup. It is a governance loop. First, create visibility into spend, latency, errors, user outcomes, and workflow behavior. Then evaluate whether quality is improving, degrading, or costing more than expected. Policy controls turn those findings into action, with thresholds, approvals, and exception routing. Changes are tested before they scale. Teams then tune models, prompts, retrieval, tools, and orchestration based on evidence. The goal is steady optimization, where cost decisions and quality decisions are made together. The main takeaway is that cost and quality cannot be governed separately. Lower spend only creates value when task success, safety, reliability, and user experience remain strong. Effective FinOps teams connect metrics and guardrails to real outcomes, including retries, escalations, latency, and risk. Next, we'll break down the cost anatomy of LLM and agentic systems.